Today, we take a trip down memory lane to discover what the petrodollar and my friends' sweaty balls have in common, and what they can teach us about America's place in the world. Welcome to Rusty's World. Okay, I know that sounds ridiculous, but I swear I'm going to bring it together. I heard the funniest story today from one of my buddies, from one of his high school jobs, that just reminded me exactly so much of our current situation. So over here, funny story. Over here, we have the Strait of Hormuz, an absolute fucking disaster right now. And I swear I'm going to make these things make sense. This is from Truth Social. This is our president. I can't remember exactly what day this was, 2 or 3 days ago. Okay, this is the president. All of those countries that can't get jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz, like the UK, which refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from the US. We have plenty. And number two, build up some delayed courage, go to the Strait, and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil, President DJT. Weird. It seems like in January and in early February and like for years before that, the strait was open and things were flowing just fine. I can't imagine, what happened. I don't know. I don't know why the strait's closed. Let's see. Let's just jump in really quick. I wanted to go back in time a little bit before that, because he did mention the UK Prime Minister here. This is Breaking Points. I love this. I love this YouTube channel. Let's just see what Breaking Points. Let's see what the UK minister has to say about going to get his own oil.
This is getting real.
It is now clear that the impact of this war will affect the future of our country. So today I want to reassure the British people that no matter how fierce this storm, we are well placed to weather it, and that we have a long-term plan to emerge from it a stronger and more secure nation.
Ooh, damn. Okay, first of all, really wish I had a British accent. Second of all, this sounds a lot like COVID. Like they're digging in. This is the UK Prime Minister being very, very clear, being very, very clear about what he sees. And so, this war has been going on for over a month now, and they're having all kinds of meetings and they're gathering all their intel and all their experts, and he's basically telling the people, the United Kingdom people, that by the way, we're kind of fucked.
First, let me say once again, this is not our war.
Ooh.
We will not be drawn into the conflict. That is not in our national interest. And the most effective way.
Did you see the dramatic push in that the cameraman did? I wonder if that was planned. I guess that could have been accidental, but it just seemed like they planned that.
We can support the cost of living in Britain is to push for de-escalation in the Middle East and a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
Ooh, the Strait of Hormuz. We were just talking about the Strait of Hormuz, and we were also talking about my friend's sweaty balls. And I'm going to make that make sense to you. I promise. That was the UK Prime Minister. You know what? I want to do one more. I'm going to keep this going because I think the Australian, probably the only people on the planet with a cooler accent than the Brits, is, of course, the Australians.
So that comes after the kind of conservative Prime Minister of Italy. Maloney, said that the U.S. can't, use its bases or fly over for the war effort, and the left-wing government of Spain has said the same. Anthony Albanese in Australia also warning his country that, things are getting rough. Let's roll A10.
Making sure that we are prepared so that if the global situation gets worse and our fuel supplies are seriously disrupted over the long term, we can coordinate the next steps together. Today, we cut the fuel excise in half, cutting the tax on every litre of petrol by 26 cents.
Oh man, in Europe, see, we're so spoiled over here. In Europe and in Australia and New Zealand, they have to buy their petrol by the liter. They can't even get it by the gallon.
Those savings have started showing up at your petrol station. For our truckies, we have cut the heavy vehicle road user charge to zero.
Truckies?
Both these measures will be in place for the next 3 months. And if you're hitting the road, don't take more fuel than you need. Just fill up like you normally would.
Oh, I wasn't alive during the 1970s oil, what was it called? The oil embargo, when basically everybody was waiting in line because there wasn't enough gas to go around. Yeah. Okay, so what does this mean? They keep talking about the Strait of Hormuz, and if it doesn't open soon, this could be a disaster. Now, it's honestly sort of the messed up part about this is that we engaged in this war. Some say because of Israel. I'm looking at you, Marco Rubio. Others say because other reasons that don't really make any sense. But we did it. We had a choice. We did this on purpose. It was our choice to do it. But it doesn't really impact us like it impacts everybody else, because we don't get a ton of our oil from containers that come through the strait. We get some, but we have quite a bit of oil ourselves. And if you remember back, like a month or two ago, we kind of kidnapped the president of Venezuela. So apparently we've got their oil too. I'm laughing just because it just sounds ridiculous to say that. But basically, we went over with Israel and we started bombing shit. And of course, Iran, and I'm not defending Iran whatsoever. I know a lot about what they do to their own people, and they call them a state sponsor of terror, and they absolutely are. But we went over and chose to do this, and it's like we're surprised that they closed the strait. I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from the U.S. We have plenty. Ooh, probably not now, but we're going to get to that in a different episode, because there's this professor. He has a YouTube channel called Predictive History. He will absolutely blow your mind. I was watching, it's this game theory way that he views the world and like world events and stuff, and they call him the political prophet, and a lot of his predictions are very, very accurate, terrifyingly accurate, I guess you might say, and so there's like even more 3D chess going on here than what we could possibly get into today, but we will get into that. All right, so if you can't get your jet fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz, let's see, the UK refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran. I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from us. We have plenty. And number two, build up some delayed courage, go to the strait, and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore, just like you weren't there for us. Ugh. That is like probably the most like messed up way to say something that you could think of. That is not going to land very well. It's not gonna land very well. And this that I'm reading, I did it out of order, but the video that we just saw a minute ago from the Prime Minister of UK was kind of in response to this, and he made it very clear. Remember the dramatic, like, zoom in by the cameraman, and he was saying, "This is not our war." Yeah. Well, so Trump is basically rubbing their noses in it, saying that you'll have to go learn how to fight for yourself because we're not going to be there. He says Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil. I don't know. It seems kind of like we're the neighborhood bully that, came over when you and your buddies were, playing Frisbee in the front yard, and who immediately throws the Frisbee on the roof and then says, well, you go get it. You fix it. And we just sort of leave. I don't know. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. Here's an article from the Wall Street Journal, which their website is atrocious because they'll give you like 3 lines and make you pay for the rest. And I'm just not going to do it. Trump tells aides he's willing to end war without reopening Hormuz. Ooh, shit, that's it. Okay. I actually forgot about this. This is the visual. I even had it saved and everything. It's a screenshot. This is actually like the whole key to this idea that I'm trying to get across. Us and Israel and us bombed the shit out of Iran. They closed the Strait of Hormuz, and it really hasn't caught up yet. It's just starting to catch up because there's a lot of oil always in transit. I heard a report that there was basically about a month's worth of oil sort of built up because those oil tankers take so long to, it takes like weeks to get anywhere. So we really haven't felt the shock just yet. But this is key, okay? The idea that, and look, I hope to God they call this thing off and they say whatever they want to say. I don't care what they say, as long as we don't get dragged into this like Iraq or Afghanistan, okay? But if we leave and the strait is still closed, which I don't see how we could possibly open it ourselves without ground forces and everything else, and that would be a horrible scenario. Well, if we leave with it still open, then we are triggering potentially the collapse of the petrodollar. Oh, boom, we're getting back to it. So, and you guys would be so proud of me. I did research and everything. All right, so I promised you a trip back in time. The petrodollar, what is it? I've heard of it, and I really didn't know what it meant. I knew it was something about oil and dollars. Okay, I got that. And apparently, it's one word, because if you have it together, spell check thinks it's okay. Okay, the petrodollar. This is very cool. We go all the way back to 1944. Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Okay, after World War II, 44 nations gathered in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, and agreed to peg their currencies to the US dollar, which was itself backed by gold at $35 an ounce. Okay, this is post-World War II, and this was basically a way to lock everyone's currencies together so that the world could prosper. Okay, so a bunch of nations said, we will peg our currency to your currency because it is tied to gold, the gold standard, right? So for a long time, and I know everyone's heard about this, for a long time, our money represented value. Our money meant something. Okay, that was before, everyone was paying thousands of dollars a month just to go to the grocery store. Back in the day, our money meant something because it was backed by gold. All right, 1971. So we jumped from 1944 to 1971. The Nixon shock. The gold window closes. By the late 1960s, rising costs from the Vietnam War, growing budget deficits, and dwindling gold reserves put enormous pressure on the system. On August 15th, 1971, President Nixon ended the dollar's convertibility into gold. The Nixon shock. The Bretton Woods system collapsed overnight. The problem, the dollar was now a free-floating currency backed by nothing. The U.S. needed a new way to guarantee basically stability. All right, so think about these are key moments in history. You have World War I and II that were very close together in the grand scheme of things. After World War II, everyone came together. 44 nations came together, and they said, "Hey, we're betting on America. Your currency is pegged to the gold standard. We're going to bet our currency on yours, and that's how we're going to prosper." And we did. We had an incredible growth through that period. Well, we get involved in Vietnam, and there was a whole bunch of other stuff going on, and who knows what happened to the gold, actually. But yeah, the Nixon shock, and it's like we're jumping off the gold standard. Well, that's a huge, huge problem. Okay, so that was August 15th of 1971. Okay, now, hang on. I actually just mentioned this. Okay, 1973 to 75, the petrodollar deal is born. Enter Henry Kissinger. After the 1973 Arab oil embargo sent gas prices through the roof, that's what I mentioned earlier about everyone waiting in line. Oh, look at this. Ooh, man, I really hope this is not us in 6 months. Sorry, no gas. Temporarily closed, out of gas. Okay, so this first one on the top left, it's this poor guy. These are such cool pictures, by the way. Who are these guys on horses? Are you guys seeing this? There's these these completely just absolute badass guys riding horses down the middle of like a busy street. Oh, and the guy in the back is the moment that picture was taken, he's taking a big drag off a cigarette. Oh, and this guy has like a fur coat. Okay, so if you picture your own group of friends, who would be who, right? I mean, everyone wants to be this guy in the back, right? The guy that's taking the drag off the cigarette and just looking completely badass. Okay, but I mean, you want to be that guy, but I mean, honestly, probably I'm this guy with the fur. I'm this guy with the fur coat. Okay, the guy up front wouldn't be bad. He's got big hair, big mustache. Looks like a pretty serious dude. Okay. I digress. All right, what I was going to say is this picture on the top left, this is like a handmade sign. It says "Sorry, no gas." It's a guy kneeling in front of gas pumps. This was done like in spray paint. So cool. That obviously was done in haste. It was a hastily made sign. Well, you have other pictures here. Gas shortage, sales limited to 10 gallons of gas per customer. This is not handwritten. It's not handwritten. That's the scary part. That means it had been going on for long enough that they actually had signs made. And or somebody was making signs and they were like, "Hey, this is going to be a great business because nobody has gas." And this was not like something that was resolved in a couple of weeks. Yeesh. Not great. Okay, so anyways, I wanted to take you back. I promised you guys a little bit of time travel, and you got it. You guys, you got some totally badass guys on horses. Okay, so the 1973 Arab oil embargo. All right, gas prices through the roof. They were rationing fuel. Nixon and Kissinger engaged in diplomatic talks with the Saudi royal family. The deal they struck was elegant. The U.S. would provide military protection and arms to Saudi Arabia. In return, Saudi Arabia would price all oil sales exclusively in U.S. dollars. Saudi Arabia would also recycle its surplus dollars into U.S. Treasury bonds. By 75, every OPEC member had adopted dollar pricing for oil. The petrodollar system was now global. That was described as elegant. It was completely genius. I mean, completely genius. Okay, we went from the gold standard, and whatever happened, we squandered all that. And then there was a couple of years, because the dates, it was like 71 to like 73. So I'm guessing there was like a bunch of scrambling and, oh my God, what are we going to do? And, lots of madness. And then they came up, Henry Kissinger and Nixon. I wonder who actually, that nobody, probably very few people that we learn about in history that get the credit for it probably actually did it. Maybe, I don't know. maybe it was all Henry Kissinger. Maybe it was like their secretary. We'll never know. But it was genius because everyone was getting their oil from the Middle East, mainly from Saudi Arabia, but other countries as well. And what we did is we said, okay, we will, if you do all of your transactions in US dollars, no matter who is doing the transacting. So any, if you're the guy selling the oil, and if you say we will only accept US dollars as payment, then no matter what country is buying the oil, they have to go to us and buy a bunch of US dollars in order to buy the oil. And then, of course, Saudi Arabia has to do the same thing. And then the dollar becomes like this world currency that everyone has to have because you have to have oil. Okay. And then, like it said, there was all this recycling. When you have this extra US dollar that you don't need, then you go and buy, hang on, what did it say? Let's see. The Saudi Arabia would also reinvest or recycle its surplus dollars into U.S. Treasury bonds. I don't really know what that means. I know it's stable. I guess it's our debt. I guess it's like kind of like our debt. It's like investing in our country or maybe our country's debt. But I know it's good for our country. Okay, and so it really was genius. So this goes on. Let me click back over. So this was 73 to 75-ish. I didn't really nail down an actual date in here. Here we go. This is from FX Open financial analyst. I don't know who. This so-called petrodollar agreement virtually pegged the value of the U.S. dollar to global oil demand and ensured its continued dominance as the world's main reserve currency. That's incredible. That was very good for us and kind of bad for us because honestly, our dollar being used for oil and being the world's reserve currency, like kind of lets us act like crackheads. We wouldn't be like a solvent as a country right now with all the debt that we have if we didn't have the dollar as the reserve currency. If there was no petrodollar, if it was the petro whatever, we would actually have to balance our budget, I don't know, like maybe cut back a little bit, but don't worry, we don't have to right now, or maybe we do. So here's the problem, okay? And I'm going to get back to Let's see. Back to this. This is what I'm leading to. Trump tells aides he's willing to end war without reopening the Strait of Hormuz. We know that it's good, okay? The petrodollar is very good for us. And now we've gone through and, turned over the table, knocked over the punch bowl at the party, and we're going to walk away and leave it that way. Well, this is where the other story kind of comes into play, and I hope it makes sense. So I have to tell this story because it just makes sense. Okay, so picture this. You're in high school. You work at a grocery store. Okay, I'm not going to name what it is, and I'm not going to name my friend. He was telling me in high school he worked at a grocery store, and he worked in the back in the deli, and he was in charge of frying all the chicken, and I guess cooking the rotisserie chickens also, and maybe just frying things in general. So he said that every night around 10, he would empty out the fryer and drain all the oil and spend like at least an hour cleaning everything out. Hour to an hour and a half. And he couldn't go home until that was done. And nobody else in the entire deli department could go home until that was done. I guess it was like a one team, one fight kind of a thing. But whatever, it was his job. He just got on with it. Until one night, a very classy gentleman came in at 10:45 and wanted some chicken. I think he wanted all dark meat cuts of fried chicken. And so my friend said, "Oh, perfect. I actually have a bunch of chicken that I just fried like 2 hours ago, and it's in different boxes under the heat lamps." He's like, "I'll just go through and pick all the dark meat cuts out for you, put them in a box, and there you go. There you have it. It'll be perfect." And he said, I really like fresh chicken. I don't want what you've got here. I want you to cook fresh. My friend's like, "You got to be fucking kidding me." He's thinking this. He can't say it because, well, you just can't say those things. And so he says, "Okay, but I've got it right here. Everything you want, everything you need is right here. Just I'll do that and you can have that." And he's, "Oh, no. No, I really want the fresh. I want that fresh chicken." My friend says, "Hey, it's going to take at least an hour before I can even get this going. I've already cleaned the fryers. I've got to restart the entire thing, heat up the oil, add new oil, actually cook the chicken itself." The guy says, "Hey, that's fine. I don't mind waiting." So at this point, my friend's blood is boiling. I mean, what would you do? I think I know what I would do. So knowing that once he did this entire process, this hour roughly long process to cook this guy chicken, and he already has chicken, but he wants the fresh chicken, okay? After he does all that for this guy, and he can't say no, he wants to say no, but he can't say no, and once this guy gets his fresh chicken and leaves, he's got to do his entire job all over again that he just finished doing, that is currently done, and it's going to make him and everybody else there like an hour and a half late. So he did what many, many, many teenagers in the food service industry do. He fired up the grill and he cooked some delicious, delicious chicken. And right before handing it to the customer, my friend did something purely genius. He managed, I'll just say it, he managed to restore order to the universe. Life has to have balance. And he knew he was going to be there at least an hour and a half late. Everybody was going to be there an hour and a half late. So he snuck around the corner and rubbed his balls all over that guy's chicken. And then, with a gleaming smile on his face, handed a very delighted customer his freshly cooked chicken. And I've been reading so much this week about the Strait of Hormuz and the petrodollar and all these different things, and then I heard that story and I was just like, it literally just dawned on me. I'm like, this is perfect. So this is where I'm going to bring it together. I'm going to bring it together and it's going to make sense. We are the guy at 10:45 demanding fresh chicken. There's chicken there. It's fine. It's still warm and hot and delicious. But no. The Strait of Hormuz was open. Everything was fine. I know that there's the arguments about nuclear weapons and yada, yada, yada. But I mean, 7-8 months ago, we, according to the president, we utterly decimated with the best military strike that's ever been done in the history of military strikes. We utterly decimated their ability to get a nuclear weapon. And so 6 months later, here we are. Okay, so I don't know. Who do you believe when the president says that it was done? It was perfect. It was done. It was amazing. It was beautiful. 6 months later, we're bombing them again, and they close the strait. So I just feel like we're that guy. We're that guy that just wants something unreasonable. Okay, and I guess all the reasons behind it is definitely a whole nother episode, and we'll definitely get to that. But it's not reasonable. So we've gone in there and we've pretty much just kicked the hornet's nest. And then, let me click over to it. And then Trump tells his aides that he's willing to end the war without reopening the Strait of Hormuz, which honestly is not the worst option, I don't think. I mean, I think this could get very, very bad. I hope. I know that like some people will see this episode and completely fucking hate me. And then some people will like totally agree with me, but still hate me. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But like, I get it. Like it's a heated subject, and there's a lot of passion on both sides. But I hope I'm wrong. I was very nervous, 6-7 months ago when we were bombing it, last time. And I was very afraid that this was going to spark a huge war, and it didn't. And I was like, oh, thank God. I mean, I was genuinely nervous about that. And here we are. We're 32 days in, I think, because the president, or 33 days, because he gave the speech last night, and he said we were 32 days in, so it's day 33, and they still haven't ruled out ground forces. They're talking about Karg Island. Jesus. So I kind of feel like we're the guy ordering chicken at 10:45. Now I know what you're thinking. If we're the guy, then where are the balls? Let's get to that. A couple of balls on our chicken to start with. This is from Newsweek, whose website is almost completely unusable because of ads. Let's see. Italy has denied U.S. jets en route to the Middle East to carry out strikes in Iran access to an airbase on its southern island of Sicily, according to Italian media. Rome blocked several U.S. bombers from landing at the Sigonella base in eastern Sicily a few days ago. Italy's whatever that's called newspaper and the ANSA news agency reported on Tuesday. The move stops short of closing Italian airspace to all U.S. aircraft. Long-standing agreements between Washington and Rome allow the U.S. military to use its bases for logistics and operations without high-level authorization, but not attacks on Iran. Meanwhile, Spain confirmed on Monday it's blocked all flights connected to the Iran war passing through its airspace. Now that is pretty significant. Okay, Spain has completely blocked us from using their airspace. And Italy says you can't use it and you can't use our bases for anything directly tied to attacking Iran. And then we already saw the UK Prime Minister. Remember the zoom in? This is not our war. They're being very clear about this. And so they're closing down airspace, but that's not even honestly the thing that I'm worried the most about. Okay, so this is from European Business Magazine. It must be a Chinese yuan. Okay, this article, forget the missiles. Iran just fired the shot that could actually break the West. Quick answer, a senior Iranian official has told CNN that Tehran is considering allowing a limited number of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, the strait that we are probably going to leave closed. Because remember, it's not actually closed. It's just closed to us and Israel and our main allies. Okay? That Tehran is considering allowing a limited number of oil tankers through the strait, but only if cargo is traded in Chinese yuan, not US dollars. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, remember our history lesson? The petrodollar, our answer to us dropping the gold standard, the thing that allows us to have so much debt. Also, don't forget this, it's the thing that allows us to sanction all these countries. We use our currency as a weapon, okay? And we sanction a lot of countries, and I'm sure Iran has been one of, we've sanctioned them a ton, actually, over the years. I don't know if they were currently under sanctions or not. But if you look at this, that Tehran is considering allowing a limited number of oil tankers through the strait if their cargo is traded in the Chinese yuan, not US dollars. This essentially is breaking the petrodollar. Okay, and actually this article is from mid-March, and there are actually other more recent articles. Okay, here it is. All right, so China was actually well ahead of this, okay, because right now Iran is saying, well, you can come through if you either pay us a toll, okay, so you can pay a toll in yuan or I think cryptocurrency. I don't know what, maybe it's Bitcoin, I'm not sure, but you can pay a toll and come through the strait right now, or if you settle the transaction in Chinese yuan, you can come through. Okay, obviously that benefits China, and obviously Iran this has to be strengthening their relationship with China and, of course, Russia, right? And but this didn't just happen out of nowhere, okay? If you look at this, and I can't find the article, okay, but this is basically the summary of it. Okay, since February 28th, between 11 and 16.5 million barrels of Iranian crude transited to China via Shadow Fleet under IRGC protection. Okay, now this happened because of a Chinese alternative payment system that's been going for like over a year now. No, more than a year. Okay, just last year, China's alternative payment system, CIPS, it's CIPS. I forgot to look that up. I don't know what that stands for exactly. But let's see. In 2025, they processed $245 trillion in yuan-denominated transactions just in that year. And that's up 43% from the prior year. Okay, the yuan payment infrastructure was built quietly over the years. The Iran war just activated it. So you see where this is going. Okay, so basically, whatever the case, wherever it goes from here, the strait is closed, and China already had this in place, and so there's already a payment system that people can use using yuan and all the things that go into it to settle their transactions, and that's just they already did a couple $100 trillion last year in 2025 before all this. But of course, though, actually, This was set up before 25, I'm sure. But I mean, don't forget last year, the 12-day war, the U.S. and Israel bombed Iran for 12 days last year. They didn't, the strait wasn't closed. And I don't think they thought they were going to close it this time. Okay. But they did, of course, because from the Iranian point of view, they're fighting for their existence. Okay. I think most Americans either are just blindly following Trump and saying, yes, this is great, they're terrorists, which they are, but they don't really understand even why we're there. And but Iran, on the other hand, they're fighting for their literal survival, because in the president's speech last night, he just casually mentioned that he might bomb them back to the Stone Age. Ugh. So that's the big picture. We went in with Israel. We dropped a bunch of bombs, killed a bunch of people horrifically, killed a bunch of elementary school girls in the process on like day one, hopefully by accident. So we came in, this devastating bombing campaign. Iran closes the strait. Okay, so we came in demanding that fresh chicken, and the strait is closed, and now all of our allies are basically rubbing their balls all over our chicken and smiling at us about it. All right, so let me just go over really quick. Let's see. Here's sort of a summary of what's going on. Spain has the most aggressive pushback. They first barred the U.S. of the jointly operated Rota and Marone bases near Seville and Cadiz for Iran operations. This then escalated to closing its entire airspace to all U.S. military aircraft involved in the Iran war. Italy, Trump's closest European ally, says no, denied landing rights to U.S. bombers at the Sigonella Air Base in Sicily. Okay, that's a big deal. France blocked Israel's weapons flights. France was trying to fly, let's see. France refused overflight for planes carrying U.S. military supplies to Israel. I don't know if they were our planes. I'm guessing they were our planes flying military supplies to Israel. And France said no. The UK, no to key bases. Prime Minister Keir Starmer denied Trump the use of RAF Fairford in England for strikes on Iran. Also denied use of Diego Garcia in the Chagos Islands. Whew. Poland refused to allow a U.S. Patriot anti-missile battery to be redeployed from Polish territory for Middle East operations, described by analysts as part of a pattern of U.S. wheels wobbling across European allies. Ooh. But hey, don't forget, let me go back up here really quick. The petrodollar, okay? Remember, this all has to do. We convinced Saudi Arabia and really the world to use our currency as the petrodollar, like as the reserve currency for energy in general and industry. Okay, and one of the things that we used to convince them is we said we would provide military protection and arms to Saudi Arabia. It's not going so well so far. Because a lot of these allies, Saudi and other places, are getting bombed like crazy, and we've actually pulled some of the anti-missile shield batteries from those countries and sent them to Israel. That's not going over very well, and we try to do that with Poland. Let me scroll back down here. Yeah, Poland refused to allow a U.S. Patriot anti-missile battery to get redeployed from Poland to the Middle East. I mean, that's what we promised, right? We promised that, hey, let's do this, use our money, and we're going to protect everybody. It's not going so well. So at the time of this recording, it's early April 2026. We have no idea what's going to happen. Trump did a speech last night and basically said that the war was ending, but it also could be ramping up, and It was very confusing. I don't know. I think he's just panicking because he's afraid markets are going to tank. And hell, this could just be cover for sending in ground troops. I mean, that could happen this weekend. Some people are saying it could happen today's Thursday that I'm recording this. It could happen tomorrow or Saturday. They could actually send ground troops in. And so no one knows where this is going to go. But to me, it seems like the idea of the petrodollar, which was the way that we sort of saved ourselves from going off the gold standard, is cracking. It already was cracking because, China was already making these deals with Iran and other countries, right? It was already an infrastructure set up. They did $200 trillion in sales last year. And going forward, maybe it just all goes to China. What does that mean for us? What does that mean for, if it's not the petrodollar, it's the petro yuan? I don't know. Is that going to spell disaster for us? I don't know. Trump doesn't seem to think so because he says that we've got plenty of oil and that we don't need anything from the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know. Time will tell, but I appreciate your time. Thank you for taking time to hang out with me. Hope that made sense. And I'll be back next week with something else absurd.